Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I have to tell you that I'm very honored to have Senator Barbara Boxer as our guest this morning at our caucus. We just finished convening a joint caucus of the Assembly and Senate Democrats. I want to publicly thank Senator Boxer, along with Speaker Pelosi, our Democratic congressional delegation, and of course President Barack Obama for moving so quickly on the federal economic stimulus. Their quick action was a vital response in these uncharted economic times. And speaking of uncharted economic times, we are still only one, see that number one right there? We are one vote away from passing a budget, and the senator made it very clear today in her comments that if we don't have this one vote, we will be in jeopardy of getting the federal economic stimulus. Today, we know we are facing the possible layoff of 20,000 state workers, 276 infrastructure projects from transportation to the Delta to community colleges will stop. Several of those projects involve serious safety issues. Yesterday, I announced the Assembly's new Surge Task Force, Stimulus, Economic Recovery, and Jobs, led by Assemblymember Manuel Perez. One of the positive goals is to find creative ways to leverage the positive impacts in California from the federal stimulus, and I know they will work closely with Senator Boxer in that regard. Most of all, we will do everything we can to work with and support Senator Boxer as Congress moves forward with the crucial reauthorization of the Safety Loop Transportation Act. The next federal transportation authorization must acknowledge the importance of transportation systems in California. In the Assembly, we have set up a task force chaired by Assemblymember Bob Blumenthal and the Transportation Chair, Mike Ng, that will be working with the State Senate as well as Barbara Boxer's office to make sure that we are able to bring the most for California out of this package. Again, I look forward to our close working relationship with Senator Boxer, and of course, all eyes today will be on the State Senate under the leadership of Senate Pro Tem Steinberg, who I know will make sure that before the day is over that we get that one vote that we need so that we can pass a state budget. State Senator Pro Tem Steinberg.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for your partnership and leadership, as well as your colleagues. And I also want to welcome Senator Boxer and say this. We legislative Democrats here in the legislature, we are pretty inspired already as we speak. We are inspired because we know what is at stake for California over the next several days. And we have stepped up. We have made the hard choices. We have made the difficult compromises, including $8.5 billion worth of cuts to public education. We have put up our votes, and we are ready to help move California beyond this crisis. And as you'll hear from Senator Boxer in a few moments, there are real-world implications in terms of the federal stimulus monies to our budget process and our budget resolution here in California. But as I said, we're already inspired, but it sure helps to have the fighter of the United States Senate come to the state capitol here today to remind us once again what is at stake. It's not just about the inter-caucus rivalry or what occurred last night at 1 in the morning. It is about real Californians. The Speaker talked about 276 highway, water, transportation projects halted tomorrow. Those are real families. Those are our constituents. Those are people who are going to have to come home and tell their loved one tomorrow that they got a layoff notice. There's one thing that can halt that kind of catastrophe for thousands of California families, and that is one more member. One more member. 5 Republicans have already braved party orthodoxy and ideology to stand up. One more. One more to put California and the people of California ahead of ideology and partisanship. We are not starting over. We negotiated a bipartisan budget in good faith. We're going to work today, and we're going to stay here day and night until one more senator steps up and puts California first. Please welcome Barbara Boxer, our great senator.
Oh, thank you.
There it is.
Wanted to make sure I could see you. I want to start off by saying thank you to those Democrats and Republicans who stepped up to the plate to solve this crisis of a lifetime. I had a long talk with John Chung, the controller, yesterday, and without going into all the detail, I can tell you that when I got off the phone with him, my hands were shaking as to what could lie ahead if we don't get one vote. So I start off with a thank you. I know that every Democrat that voted for this gave up things that he or she holds dear. I know that, because I know them, and I know how they feel about education, for example. I know how they feel about the environment, for example. I also say to those Republicans, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for saying that this magnificent state of California is more important than ego, is more important than ideology, is more important than self. That is hard to do, and it's very hard to stand up against the majority of one's caucus. I've done it in my lifetime. It's hard to do. So I start off on that very positive note of thanks. But I'm not a Pollyanna, and I know the consequences of inaction. And what I'd like to do is what I did for the caucus when I spoke to the Assembly caucus, and to kind of, and Senate caucus, Assembly and Senate were both in there. I want to tell you what I said, lessons learned from my experience in winning the stimulus, basically by just one vote, and what it took to do. We had to give up on all sides, because there are three options when you're in a crisis like this. One is to do nothing. Doing nothing in a crisis is not a passive act. It's a hostile act on the people of this state and this country, because doing nothing means that you say the status quo is fine, and the status quo is certainly not fine. We have lost millions of jobs in this great country. And as was pointed out, these jobs aren't held by faceless, nameless people. They're your neighbors. They're your friends. And many of them will be getting layoff notices. And there is nothing as sickening as that when you are trying to raise a family. So doing nothing is a hostile act. Now, the second way is to say, oh, I want to do something, but it just has to be a better bill, my bill. And I could tell you something, I could write the perfect bill for me. Believe me, I have done it many times. But guess what? It's not perfect for my colleagues, because everybody can write the perfect bill. So if you take that attitude, and you'll hear that being said by colleagues, oh, I want to do something, I just don't want to do this. That means you're holding out for your perfect bill. So that's doing nothing, and that is a hostile act. And then the third way is to compromise, to put aside all of this ego and all of this self-righteousness, and put your state first, and put the people of the state first, and put the children of your state first, put the economy of the state first. And it's a mirror image of what we did in the United States Senate when we were able to get that last one vote from Arlen Specter to put it over the top. And people have a decision to make. And I so applaud the leaders here in this legislature for staying here, for going without a lot of sleep, Because I can tell you, when you get a layoff notice, you don't sleep well. You don't sleep well. 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights, 4 nights, and you don't sleep well until you get a job. And that's what's at stake. I'm here, I planned this visit a long time ago, just to touch bases with my friends in the legislature, tell them, give them an update. Little did I know at that time that I would be here at this moment in time. But maybe there's a reason. And that gets me to my last point, the stimulus. Getting this done was very tough. It was as tough as this. It was very tough. And we fought hard, and Senator Feinstein and I, and Congresswoman Pelosi, and all the members of Congress on both sides of the aisle who supported it, and there weren't many on the other, but we had the necessary 3. We fought hard to get a good bill. And it means a lot for our state. It means 400,000 jobs for our state. It means that people here are going to have a chance to get to work building bridges and highways. It means more funding for education, for school renovation. It also means direct assistance to those who are in trouble in terms of being able to get help with their health insurance, with their unemployment insurance, and so on. But there are certain parts of this stimulus package where the state has got to show maintenance of effort. They've got to show maintenance of effort. And those are the education parts, they're the transportation parts, and there are others. We will be jeopardizing the ability to move quickly and put people to work if we don't get this one vote, this budget resolved. We will be jeopardizing it. All you have to do is look at TV this morning, the state of Missouri, they're out there, they're building a bridge because they finally know they're getting the federal help and they're taking advantage of it and they're moving forward. We can't do that. We're sending layoffs. We're stopping roads, bridges, and highways. We're stopping them. That's not maintenance of effort. So maybe there's a fortuitous timing here where I happen to be here at this moment to try and give some courage to those Republicans who are looking into their hearts. Please know, we're not playing a game here. This is serious business of governing. And this is the moment. And I'm here to support those Democrats and Republicans who stepped up to the plate. And I will remain behind the scenes to do whatever I can to help in this very difficult time. And thank you very, very much.